I want to know where the liability in that is going to be. If a 12-year-old girl who's in her little girl clutch and they all decide they're going to get the Gardasil vaccine together and one of them dies, where is the liability in that going to be? Is it going to be with the school nurse, with the school district, with the governor? Where is the liability going to lie in that? Because if they've passed a law saying that these young girls and boys can make a decision for their own on vaccines, are they going to say that girls, they can make a decision of their own on some other drug like Ritalin or any other type of pharmaceutical psychotropic drug? And where's the liability going to lie? I don't think anybody has addressed that, because someone as large as that state is, we know for sure, as you've already said, there are at least 23,000 VAERS reports. That could represent as little as 1% of the actual number of reported injuries out there. We know that there's at least 32 confirmed deaths and 100 other deaths that they are investigating with the Gardasil vaccine. What's going to happen if some of these girls walk into the school nurses area and they get a vaccine and they fall on the floor and have a seizure and die? Who's responsible? Nobody's talking about that.
By the way, that's another point I've made on the radio and play clip after clip. If you just type "girl died after Gardasil," you get the U.S., you get Canada, you get England, you get Indian newscast, where they inject them in the classrooms and and girls collapse, have convulsions, and some cases die of shock within minutes. I mean, this is incredible. How are they? That's my question. How are they so bold? How are they so wild? I mean, how are they just so brazen when they knew it was killing people in the trials, and they still went ahead and had Perry lie and say it was the law? Well, he got caught. It wasn't the law. And so now they've just moved to go ahead and have a law.
Alex, think about this for a minute. If you took your two-year-old child, and you four-postered them on your dining room table, you had 4 adults hold them down on the table, and you took needle syringes, you took 4 needles and jabbed them into their thighs, and you injected chemicals, aluminum, formaldehyde, animal cells, human DNA into their legs, and then you went and told your neighbor, and you left that child to cry and scream hysterically for hours. And then you told your neighbor, well, yeah, we were just doing a little procedure. How soon would CPS show up at your door and take those kids away? But because it's done in a doctor's office, because somebody has on a white coat and somebody trusts you, we think that this is okay, it's harmless, and it's done because it's good for you. It's torture. It should not be allowed to be happening anywhere, let alone in a school system where some adolescent gets to make a decision about what's injected in their body. It's a travesty. It really is.
Well, I know this. I was a tough kid, and I'd play around in construction zones and have nails go through my foot and, break arms and, break fingers, and was tough and didn't care and wasn't afraid of anything. But I was horrified of shots and would beg and would plead, and I only had a few vaccines in my life. And now it's more than 50, I know they give children. Now they want it to be hundreds, and they're setting the precedent to try to give them thousands. This is just incredible. Now, I want to close, Doctor, with their ace in the hole. You raised this when I was talking to you during the break before we went live here, and you said their ace in the hole is things like Contagion with Matt Damon and all this. There are so many TV shows, movies about mega death, billions dead, not a question of if but when. You've got to get the shot. And when you learn that this vaccine industry is a $100 billion industry a year or more, you really see that this is product placement, propaganda placement, and that's the race in the hole, is just scaring the daylights out of people.
Absolutely. And the vision statement of the pharmaceutical industry, which I learned this from a pharmaceutical insider, said that the vision statement of the entire industry is to have every single human on the planet on a minimum of 2 daily pharmaceutical drugs for their entire life. Well, how better to do that than to start with young children and making them terribly sick and have all sorts of things from asthma, allergies, eczema, ADD, ADHD that you can't really connect. Somebody told me that there was a line from that movie Contagion that said, we need to make this vaccine because if 10 years from now it's causing autism, nobody will be able to connect the dots. And that's exactly what they're setting up. They want everybody sick because that promotes their widgets.
It certainly does, and then they have the treatments in development for things that they know in the trials with lab animals it's going to cause in Homo sapien, the diabolical nature, the weaponization of this. I know you've done deep research, but in my film Endgame and just through pure research, trying to discover what the globalists, the Rockefellers, stood for. The Rockefellers, the British royalty, the King of England had to advocate over it, funded Hitler, and wanted worldwide eugenics. And it was a medical tyranny that the Nazis first engaged in. Forced inoculation, all of it. And that's basically now what's come here. It's just an underground program, and that's why Bayer Pharmaceutical and others that came out in court knowingly shipped out HIV blood. And, hey, it's get rid of the hemophiliacs. We're doing you a favor. This is a cold-blooded group. From my research, it's much bigger than profit. Have you found the eugenics angle in your research?
I have, and I think that it's, you know, what a lot of people say, and I would have to agree, that when, you know, World War II was over, everybody just traded in their uniforms for white coats and business suits. Nothing changed. It was life. Things just went on as usual. And I do believe that there is definitely a sinister side. And the problem that bothers me the most, Alex, is what's wrong with the 800,000 physicians in this country, that they just march to the tomb of the drug companies, that they're not willing to look at any of this information or very little of it. They don't know what's coming through that needle and being injected into adults and children. And they just absolutely stand by it and take people like me and you and other people who are exposing the truth and tell colleagues and other physicians say you're just saying all the wrong things. It's just really not
I'll
true.
tell you why. I mean, you're a doctor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got family that are physicians. Look, they are brought up that you're part of the elite now, you know best, and then they're kept so busy that they just receive what the American Medical Association says and they follow it. And they've been following this system so long, they don't want to admit they were conned and were wrong. And so they're now committed to it. And that's basically how tyrannies work. Once a tyrant or once a corrupt system gets you to join it, then you will rationalize greater and greater crimes.
Well stated. I'm sure that's true.
But we are seeing more and more medical doctors come out.
Not nearly enough. I mean, really, even physicians who do integrative medicine like I do here in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, even doctors like that have a practice of holistic medicine, they still are, you know, sort of a supporter of vaccinations. I mean, they really are. They have really an issue with that.
Well, I mean, I want to be clear. Certainly from the medical history and the 400 years of vaccination, you can get some immunity from having something attenuated or weakened. But then there's the whole issue of, then what does that do to the rest of your immune system? But now, I think they deceive us by even calling these vaccines. These are more nanotech, re-engineered viruses. I mean, now they've got the new classes coming out that re-engineer the brain and attack neurons that would uptake endorphins, that, you know...
the fun vax.
Exactly. They're saying, no, don't be depressed anymore. I mean, this is really Buck Rogers type re-engineering of society, and they just call it vaccines, and they think, well, this is like the polio vaccine. We're saving people. Yeah, saving them with hundreds of millions exposed to cancer viruses.
Well, think about all of these girls that we were talking about just a few minutes ago that would get these injections of Gardasil, and it could be any of the. There's now kids now get 40 doses of 16 different vaccines by the time they start kindergarten. And one of the things that people have to realize when they're listening to this, and it's school season, school just started, and across the country they've been telling people that parents, no shots, no school. Well, my answer to that is no shots, no school, not true. Every state except West Virginia and Mississippi have either a philosophical exemption or a medical exemption for you to opt out of your children being inoculated with all of these things. So there are a lot of ways that you could stop it, but every one of these vaccines all have horrible potential side effects. There is nothing that can come through a needle and to try to keep you healthy that you can't do for yourself just by your own diet, exercise, vitamin D, vitamin C, and all those things.
Well, Doc, that's another example of the hoax.
Exactly.
They continue to say it's the law, you've got to take it, and that's what's so wonderful about Perry being caught. We called him. It came out he didn't have the authority. It wasn't the law. And now he has to apologize, and all the other candidates are against him. That has certainly gotten the death merchants of the vaccine makers on the defensive like I've never seen them before. And now, what about the other two states? There are still ways to get exemptions there, correct?
Well, West Virginia and Mississippi really only have a medical exemption, and it's very hard to get. Their state health departments are very adamant about it. In fact, I've even had some parents in Mississippi tell me that the state health department wants them to vaccinate their kids even if they're homeschooling. And so those two states are the only two states that just have a medical exemption. Most of the time, you can only get that for a particular vaccine for which you've had a reaction. I mean, even if you have an ill child and you say, I don't want them to have the vaccines, the medical doctors, who again are the problems, will say, oh, well, it's because your child is sick. They need the vaccines more than ever because you don't want them to get those vaccine preventable diseases.
Well, as a medical doctor, you know, until 2 years ago, they said never vaccinate a pregnant woman. Now they're saying it's good.
Oh, not only are they saying that it's good, Alex, they're talking about flu shots, pertussis vaccines, they're talking about hepatitis B, and they're even potentially talking about giving Gardasil vaccines to pregnant women.
Well, Dr. Tenpenny, we're going to have you back up in the near future to get into all the other attacks that are happening. But the good news is, and I think you've basically agreed with me today, the report is the worm is starting to turn, the pendulum is starting to swing, the awakening is here.
I believe that's true. I really do. I think that it's really, you know, when I started this 11 years ago, there were just a few of us, you know, out in the lone, just really talking about this. I truly believe that tens of millions of people, not only in this country but around the world, are waking up and they're just saying no.
What are the best websites for people to visit to see all the scientific documentation that you've amassed?
Going to drtenpenny.com, DrTenpenny, drtenpenny.com. Dr. Tenpenny, that's where we're soon to be launching an entire library of all the research that I put together through drtenpenny.com. My clinic in Cleveland is Tenpenny IMC, like Iris, Mary, Charlie. That's Tenpenny Integrated Medical Center, tenpennyimc.com. We're here in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm always proud to say that people have come from 39 states and 12 countries to get well and off their drugs.
Well, if I ever need your help, I'm definitely coming to you. You are certainly a guardian angel out there. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's it for Infowars Nightly News. Please support the important work she's doing against the eugenicists and against their soft kill program. And please get the DVD presentation, Flu and Flu Vaccines, What's Coming Through the Needle. I know that you know about a lot of this stuff, but your friends, your family, your neighbors don't. If we simply get this type of information and get it out to everybody you know, we can stop these people. It's available, discounted at Infowars.com, and your purchase supports Infowars Nightly News as well. So does your subscription to Infowars Nightly News. You know, we allow members to share their passcode to a limited number of people. And if we had enough support, we would expand it basically to an unlimited point. But it's funny, people almost don't appreciate something that's completely free. But it is your subscriptions at prisonplanet.tv that have made this transmission possible. So I don't want you to be behind me. I want you right beside me. Make no mistake, those of you that are members of prisonplanet.tv, you are making all of this possible. So thank you so much for being part of the Second American Revolution, a revolution against tyranny worldwide, what I call 1776 worldwide.